In a world where everyone wants to build bigger and taller, one woman decided to go in the complete opposite direction. She built her home right into the side of a hill. At first, her neighbors thought she was crazy. They'd walk by, shake their heads, and even laugh at the strange, hobbit-like dwelling taking shape. "What's she thinking?" they'd whisper. "That's not a real house." They couldn't understand why anyone would trade a grand, conventional home for a patch of dirt on a slope. Little did they know, this woman wasn't just building a house. She was building a fortress, a sanctuary designed with a wisdom that would soon leave them all speechless. The woman's name was Lena, and she wasn't an architect or an engineer. She was a keen observer of nature. She had spent years watching how the wind howled across the open plains, how storms battered the tallest trees, and how small creatures found shelter in burrows and hollows. She noticed that while the wind could snap a mighty oak, it would simply rush over the gentle curve of a hill. An idea began to form in her mind, an idea that was both ancient and revolutionary. She decided her home wouldn't fight against nature. It would work with it. It would become part of the landscape itself. The construction process was unconventional, to say the least. Instead of a deep foundation and towering walls, Lena's team excavated a large crescent shape out of the hillside. They used reinforced concrete to create a shell, which was then covered with layers of waterproofing, and finally, tons of earth. The front of the house was a wall of glass, designed to capture every ray of winter sun. From the road, it looked like a futuristic bunker. From the back, it was completely invisible, just another part of the rolling green hill. Her neighbors' jokes intensified. They called it the mole hole and Lena's bunker. Lena just smiled and continued her work, confident in her vision. Inside, the home was anything but a dark cave. The massive south-facing windows flooded the open-plan living space with natural light. The earthen roof provided incredible insulation, keeping the house cool in the scorching summer heat and cozy warm during the freezing winter. Her energy bills were practically non-existent. The thick layer of soil on top muffled all outside noise, creating a peaceful, silent retreat. It was a space that felt both secure and connected to the world outside. Lena had a thriving rooftop garden where she grew vegetables and flowers, and the local wildlife often visited, unafraid of this structure that felt like part of their natural habitat. For a few years, life went on. Lena enjoyed her quiet, energy-efficient home, while her neighbors lived in their traditional houses, occasionally glancing at her peculiar dwelling with a mixture of pity and amusement. They boasted about their spacious second floors and grand entrances, things Lena's home lacked. They couldn't see the genius behind her design because they were only looking at the surface. They measured success by height and grandeur, not by resilience and harmony. But a powerful lesson from Mother Nature was just over the horizon. One autumn, the weather forecasters began issuing dire warnings. A storm of unprecedented scale was heading their way, a superstorm with winds powerful enough to be classified as a hurricane, even this far inland. The community was urged to board up windows, secure loose objects, and prepare for the worst. Panic began to set in. People rushed to buy supplies, and a sense of dread hung in the air. Lena's neighbors frantically nailed plywood over their windows and tied down their patio furniture. They looked over at Lena's house, nestled in the hill, and some probably thought, well, that little bunker is about to get washed away. Lena's preparations were different. She made sure her pantry was stocked, checked her emergency generator just in case, and then she sat down with a cup of tea and a good book. She wasn't panicked. She was confident. Her home wasn't designed to resist the storm. It was designed to ignore it. It was built to be overlooked by the full fury of the wind. She trusted the earth that enveloped her home. She trusted the principles of aerodynamics and ancient building techniques that had inspired her. Then, the storm hit. It was worse than anyone had imagined. The wind shrieked like a banshee, a relentless, deafening roar. Rain fell in horizontal sheets, and the power grid failed almost immediately. Throughout the night, the sounds of destruction echoed across the neighborhood. Trees snapped like twigs, Shingles were ripped from roofs and sent flying like deadly projectiles. One neighbor's entire porch was torn from its foundation. Another watched in horror as a massive tree crashed down onto their garage, crushing it completely. The wind found every weakness, every sharp edge, every flat surface to push against, and it showed no mercy. Inside Lena's home, it was a different world. The roar of the wind was a distant, muffled hum. The house didn't shake or rattle. There were no creaks or groans of a structure under stress. The thick earthen walls and roof absorbed the storm's energy completely. The wind, unable to get a grip on the curved, low-profile structure, simply flowed up and over the hill, as if the house wasn't even there. Lena slept soundly through the worst of it, safe and secure in her earthen cocoon. The storm raged outside, but inside, there was only peace. The next morning, the sun rose on a scene of total devastation. The neighborhood looked like a war zone. Debris was everywhere. Roofs were damaged, windows were shattered, and entire sections of fences were gone. People emerged from their battered homes, dazed and shaken. They began to survey the damage, their faces etched with worry and despair. The cost of repairs would be astronomical. It was a heartbreaking sight. Then, their eyes turned toward the hill. Amidst all the chaos and destruction, Lena's home stood completely untouched. Not a single pane of glass was broken. Her rooftop garden was a bit windswept, but otherwise fine, while her neighbors were dealing with flooded basements and gaping holes in their roofs. Lena was calmly walking out her front door, sipping her morning coffee. She looked out at the wreckage, her expression one of sympathy, not of triumph. One by one, her neighbors walked over, their laughter from years past now replaced with looks of awe and disbelief. How is this possible? One asked, gesturing at his own ruined house, and then back at her pristine home. Your house. It's perfect. Lena smiled gently. The wind can't break what it can't catch, she explained simply. You all built your homes to fight the wind. I built mine to let it pass. In that moment, everything changed. The molehole was no longer a joke. It was a marvel of engineering and foresight. The neighbors who had laughed were now filled with admiration and a healthy dose of envy. They saw the wisdom in her design, the beautiful simplicity of working with nature instead of against it. They asked her endless questions about insulation, aerodynamics, and earth-sheltered construction. The woman they had once dismissed as an eccentric was now their hero, a visionary who had shown them a better, safer way to live. Her humble home, built into a slope, had not only survived the storm, it had conquered it by yielding. It stood as a powerful testament to the idea that sometimes, the greatest strength is found not in standing tall and defiant, but in bowing to the power of nature and becoming part of it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories.